And in our first story, Minister for Government Communications Felix Kwakye Ofosu has refuted allegations by Ranking Member on Parliament's Defence and Interior Committee, Reverend John Akufo-Addo, linking drug activities and money laundering to 2 aircraft that landed in the country in March. Mr. Kwakye Ofosu has been clarifying that the aircraft arrived in Ghana on legitimate purposes and underwent thorough security inspections with no unlawful substances found on board.
Disinformation machine of the new patriotic party has been ratcheted up, and they've taken it a notch higher. This time, Reverend Akufo-Addo, who also doubles as the Member of Parliament for the good people of Asin South, has made very wild claims to the effect that 2 aircrafts which passed through Ghana for various reasons were carrying drugs, and that was the reason why they were here. He also alleged that they were involved in money laundering, and therefore he was calling for investigations. As you may be aware, President Mahama gave him the opportunity to present any evidence or any basis he has for making that claim to the security services, so that together we could look into the matter to ascertain whether there was any truth in it. I can report to you that because he knew he was peddling total falsehoods and lies, he now claims, after being invited to assist with investigations, that he was speaking on behalf of the committee that he was part of, and that the views he expressed were not his personal views. So because of that, he says he's unable to cooperate with the security agencies. I say that he was peddling falsehood because the facts as they exist vary completely from the claims that he made. When he made that claim, he was only seeking to peddle falsehood in a bid to undermine the confidence that the people of Ghana have in this government. The truth is that 2 aircrafts with completely different purposes arrived in Ghana, and their arrival was perfectly legitimate, and they were here for very genuine reasons. The first one is an Antonov flight 12BK with registration number CVK 7037. Now this flight essentially is a cargo plane which arrived on the 12th of March 2025. Now no plane arrives in Ghana without a landing permit. So this plane secured a landing permit with number GAF/TMAO/25/7863. Now the purpose for arriving in Ghana was what we call a technical stop. Essentially, this is a cargo flight that was destined for the European Union market. And European Union regulations dictate that some specific regulatory requirements be met before any plane of that sort can enter the EU. Now this plane originated from Luanda in Angola. It was loaded with oil drill equipment and lubricant oil, which were contained in jerrycans. It was headed for the EU market. Now Luanda does not have the certification to carry out the sort of requirements that this plane had to meet before entering the EU market. Now, the specific requirement is a scanning and screening RA3 procedure, which is a requirement to enter the European Union. Rwanda doesn't have it. The Swiss cargo facility at the Kodoka International Airport has that certification, and they can do that kind of scanning. Whilst here, it developed an engine blade fault. Its engine blade was damaged, and then it was also detected that there was severe oil leakage, which required immediate attention. For that reason, a replacement aircraft, URCEZ, with registration number CVK 7007, was brought in to evacuate the cargo. The aircraft that was damaged remained here for 13 days. That is between 12 March and 25th March 2025. After it had been inspected by aviation security, officials of the Narcotic Control Commission, officials of National Security and National Intelligence Bureau, no contraband or unlawful commodities were found on the aircraft. Now, the second aircraft in question is a Hawker 800 XP with registration number N823AM. Now, this aircraft is operated by an organization called AirMed International, which is based in Birmingham, Alabama, in the United States of America. It operates as an air ambulance. Now, Air Medical International flights in Ghana are handled by Tropicana Airlines. Now, this plane landed in Ghana on 20th March from Gran Canaria, Las Palmas, Spain, having gone through Luanda in Angola. Now, it was also here for a technical stop, which is refueling and crew rest, which is perfectly legitimate activity. It was cleared to land in Ghana with clearance number GAF TWXR252604 OFAA 0297/25. Now, whilst it was landing in Ghana, it developed a tire burst and some difficulty with its landing gear, and therefore needed to remain here to be serviced. So another aircraft with registration number N864 arrived on 22nd March with tires and flight engineers from Luanda to replace the damaged tires of the aircraft. Now, once this was fixed, it departed the Kotoka International Airport on 25th March. The aircraft was once again inspected by officials of aviation security, officials of national security, officials of the National Intelligence Bureau, and NACOC, who made sure that it did not contain any unlawful substances, as alleged by Reverend Ntim Fodjo. So, in a nutshell, the claims of Ntim Fodjo are false. He cannot prove it. That is why he is running away from the investigative bodies. He is unable to provide any shred of evidence to back his claim.
So you have the Minister for Communications and Presidency, Felix Kwakye Ofosu, explaining the flights that landed in March. Well, Reverend Ntim Fodjo has rebutted the response by Felix Kwakye Ofosu. Here's his reaction on social media. And he's been drawn to a rather disingenuous and far-fetched response from government by Kwakye Ofosu. Kwakye Ofosu lied when he claimed I'd been invited by security agencies and failed to attend upon their invitation. No security or intelligence agency has ever invited me to assist them with any information. I dare Kwakye Ofosu to produce a copy of such invitation. I'm still waiting on them to collaborate with me in Parliament to undertake President Mahama's directive, if the directive was not mere rhetoric. He also says, when I wrote to call for joint security briefing, which would have afforded the security and intelligence agencies the opportunity to collaborate with me and to share further information with them and receive their updates on investigations conducted into the specific cases, NDC Parliamentary Caucus and the government blocked the briefing and shielded the security and intelligence agencies from accountability and denied them the opportunity to collaborate with me. What are they hiding? He questions. Whereas Kwakye Ofosu confirmed my claims of the entry and departure of the two suspicious flights as true, the reasons provided by him in respect of their purpose of entry are incoherent, questionable, and cannot be taken seriously. Now, he also says the government has since failed to provide responses to the status of the 12 containers filled with gold and currencies confiscated by the national security on February 9. And this is aside the flight issue. And then he says the government has also failed to provide responses on the status of investigations made into the high-profile cocaine bust totaling some $500 million, and he puts into bracket $350 million and $150 million, I suspect, are two different concessions. Now he says, in view of the above and the disingenuous response from government spokesperson, they are bent on hiding information and evading accountability. Our country cannot be allowed to be suddenly turned into a hub for cocaine and money laundering. They must come again. And that's the response from Reverend John Ntim Fodjo, who Who is the, more or less, the whistleblower on this situation? Well, let's now explore the security side of this. And the government insists there were thorough inspections and that nothing illegal was found. But Reverend Ntim Fodjo insists the matter is far from resolved. How are such claims typically investigated? And is Ghana's national security apparatus being appropriately transparent? We've been joined by security analyst Dr. Victor Doke on this issue. Doc, we're grateful for your time on our desk. Well, you've heard what the minister has said and also the response from Reverend Ntim Fodjo. The minister says the aircraft were cleared after rigorous security screening. Who exactly conducts this check? How independent are they?
Thank you very much. Good morning to you and your cherished viewers. I think this issue is becoming somewhat of what I see as political gimmicks, in my own words. Why do I say so? Now, you have the very reverend who has come out, first of all, with regards to stating the claims of the aircrafts coming into the territory of Ghana and then engaging in illegalities, i.e. drugs and whatnot. And then you have the government machinery led by the Honorable Kwakye Ofosu having to come out and debunk these assertions or claims. Now, before that, we heard what the President, Dramani Mahama, said entirely with regards to how he's not going to allow Ghana's territory to be used, as a conduit for drug or any illegalities. Now, when you come to these checks, when you're talking about foreign vessels or aircraft coming into the space, the Ghanaian space, you can have aircraft such as these coming into the space for various reasons, to either transport or to add goods, or in line of diverting flights, technical faults and all of that. Aircraft are allowed to dock or land here. The Honourable Minister also will give details as to what the process is. You obtain the landing certificate and all of that. Now, you come in, even when you take passenger flights, for example, those who are even supposed to go elsewhere, what happens? There's a thought either passengers or passengers and back. There's a thorough.
Dr. Doke, I'll appreciate it if you could reposition yourself so we can hear you clearly. And the line seems to be tripping.
Can you hear me?
It's better now. Yes, if you could speak up. Yes, this is better.
Okay, all right. So I was saying there's a thorough check done by the authorities at the airport. You would have the personnel of the narcotic control. You would have personnel of customs. You have security agencies, i.e. security, and then the NID officials also there doing all these checks. Now, you saw in the video that there was even an extension with regards to the forensic investigation when the gentleman was swiping, that sensitive part around the boxes to check if there are any elements embedded in the boxes. So if they do that test and it comes up positive, then it means that there's a probability that there is drugs on board or there is food or whatever on board. Now, all these have been done. The Honorable MP legislator is still saying that he doesn't go by what the government is saying. The way forward for us now is to how to get the Honorable MP to come either collaborate with the security agencies, because then we've already advised the security personnel, they've gone in, they've done their checks, the results have come back. How do we ensure that this does not, promote misinformation and disinformation?
Right.
And by that, we also have to make sure that anybody, not only legislatures, that comes out with what information would have to be very worried that the information from source has to be authentic and not to misinform or disinform the general public, because we are talking about the country
Right.
Okay? And this can go against the country's democratic credentials. It can go against the investment activities of the country, which will not be good. So the authorities, the security authorities should, if they already invited the legislature and say no, they should just come out again. I think one thing we need to understand is when you come to
I'd like to come in. I'd like to come in here. I mean, we understand there was a cargo plane and also an air ambulance. I mean, do you need the national security inspecting such planes if they are just here for a technical, as a result of a technical hitch? Do you need the national security there conducting inspections on the plane, or the airport security will have to, assist in whatever assistance that they need?
Yes. So you will need to do a thorough security check. The airport security is one, and then you can invite the national security also. So in this case, when the news broke out, the president ordered national security to come in. Now, airport security was there, and that is why I mentioned that the staffs and those people who were mentioned were doing their check. But after the news broke out by the legislature, the president had to invite the national security. On the back of that, if any situation is very critical, you're having a situation that can have dire consequences on the security of the nation, the national security will even be there before the plane land. You're talking about airmen and this cargo plane. So already you will tend to have an idea of what they are carrying and what they are doing. So after the prolonged days on the tarmac, then the causes of concern, national security can go in and then ascertain what the problem definitely is by doing what a collaborative check with the airport security and to ascertain what the problem is if they need to really come in. But in this case, because we are talking about what the news that broke out with regards to draft, okay, and the uncertainty of boxes going in, that is why the number one man on the line decided to invite the national security in.
Right.
So this issue is not just going to end soon. The honorable legislature should, in my very opinion, be available to collaborate with the national security to further provide the information as to what he saw or what he knew.
Right.
So here's what we are hearing.
The MP has been complaining. He says the national security hasn't invited him. He called for a meeting through his committee in Parliament, yet it was shut down by the chairman of that committee. Now he's also refuting the claims that the minister is talking about, or the responses from the presidency about the inspections conducted on the plane. Can these assessments that Felix Kwakye Ofosu is presenting be audited externally, at least to put the doubts to rest?
We can. It is doable. Now, if you want to allay the fears of the general public and then the international community, because they are watching, then you need to go further. And I support that there has to be a thorough investigation into this. Now, you're talking about the honorable MP saying he wrote to ask for the heads of the agencies to come in and ask questions, but then it wasn't attended to or whatever. There's another way he can go by. He can try again. We need to understand that when you are going to, ascertain the successes of our security sector, one area you need to do, or you need to be very watchful, is how accountable and transparent our security sector is. And I don't think this is a top call for the security agencies to do. I think it is just easy to roll out. Let's collaborate with the honorable minister. Now, in doing so, when the facts actually come out, then we will know whether somebody was trying to just go down the eyes of the general and the laws got up. So that this also does not become a norm where I sit in my home and then get information from somewhere and then organize a press conference to what? For purposes that is best known to me. We should not encourage this kind of practice because it's dangerous to our security. So I think collaboration is needed in this regard.
Right.
The honorable minister the honorable legislature, the security heads, to just iron out the differences. Whoever invites you first, I don't really think it's an issue.
All right.
Can meet in and then iron out the issues. You have evidence, you bring it. You investigate, the arrest, operate. If not, we check you. As simple as that.
Right. Grateful for your time, Dr. Doke, here on our desk. Yes. Now moving on, Lands and Natural Resources Minister Emmanuel Ama Kofi-Boah is asking the judiciary to play a critical role in tackling illegal mining, stressing the need for dedicated courts to expedite cases related to environmental destruction. He says swift and firm legal action is crucial to deterring offenders and reinforcing government's commitment to eradicating the menace.
We have to win together, and this fight is not going to be easy. I just told you that we reclaimed the offense shelter belt, and these bad guys, armed to their teeth, attempted to go and turn it into red again, and in the process they injured a forest officer with family who is fighting for his life at the Akufo-Addo Teaching Hospital. My friends, this is serious. And so you cannot, in these circumstances, I just told you what we've done with arrests, 76 arrests, where we've sent the government trying to prosecute people, and the judge says they should give the excavators, and thanks to the legal team and the support of the people of Ghana, a 24-hour reverse of decision has been made. This government, within this short period, is doing everything possible to make sure that the people of Ghana will join us, so we can expose those few bad people who are putting us in this risk. So, but we can't continue to talk as if all we have to do is just give up. We can't give up. The past weekend, they were in the Western North, working through, and I think even their work left them chasing people, led them to the Western region. If you heard some stories, whether somebody has asked some military to stop, no. It had to do with them entering the region because they were focused on their work, and they need to basically inform the other region that, we are entering this region.
Meanwhile, Interior Minister Montaka Mubarak has directed the Inspector General of Police, Christian Tete Yaunu, to transfer all police commanders, including regional and district commanders, currently serving in areas affected by the menace. Let's engage Daryl Bosu, who is Deputy Executive Director at Arocha Ghana, and also Mutaru Mumuni, Security Analyst, about this. We also have on the line Erastus Asaridonko, my own colleague, and a campaigner against illegal mining. Let's start with Daryl Bosu, who's the Deputy Executive Director of Arocha Ghana. You've heard from the Lands Minister, and also we know that the Interior Minister wants every police official in these areas transferred. What do you make of the current measures taken to tackle illegal mining?
Yes, good morning to you as well, and I'm really happy to be here. Good morning to other colleagues on the panel. I must say that this is a very welcome news. I mean, 3 weeks or a month ago, we were in a press conference where we actually called for some key commanders within the Chebe area to be removed. And I think it all boils down to the fact that we believe that if we are going to really make significant strides in the fight against Galamsey, then it behoves on us that we make sure the agencies that are responsible for enforcement and compliance are really held accountable for what is happening. Because we have seen that if you look at the entire value chain of the mining regime in this country, the biggest link, the missing link here is we having a very robust law enforcement regime that ensures that everybody who has a concession is doing the right thing, and those who don't have any mining license, who have no rights to mine anywhere, don't get into the ground. So I think that is a very, very good call, and I even like the fact that he says that if in 3 months you are not performing, they are going to change you. And I think this should have been the way to go from long ago, and it's not too late. And I must say, it's going to be one of the key strategies that could really significantly change the way we fight galamsey going forward?
Well, I mean, we've seen stuff like this, these measures being taken all the time. We've not really had major prosecutions of people involved in illegal mining causing the environment to be degraded and whatnot. Are you confident that this is going to make any change?
Yes, I mean, you're right. There's an aspect of we making sure that when people are arrested for engaging in galamsey, the prosecution aspect also works well. Like the case we recently had it from the NG area where a judge a district magistrate court really was able to try out the request by the Forestry Commission. It didn't make sense. So it means that we need to ensure that align our policies and strategies across the board. Unless if we don't do that, we'll let the police get onto the ground, they get close now, they arrest people. But the question is, how do we do with ensuring that there is prosecution for people who are arrested for engaging in galamsey? So it is an important bit. And like I said, I totally agree. This is something that they have announced, they have indicated they are going to do. It all boils down to we doing it and making sure that we do it well. I thought today they all expected they made this announcement, they've made this statement that they're going to make sure they change up, which definitely they must. But if they fail to do it right, then I guess it's better not said. So you have to hear about saying that. We hear a lot of things saying, and this was also said that a lot of things are being said now, but when it comes to really making sure we are implementing them in the full scope of what is supposed to be done, that is where we are found one. So let's see how they really, work towards what they themselves have said.
Well, yesterday's press conference by the lands minister also indicated that about 80% of the lands have been reclaimed. Can you verify this?
Well, I think the best person to really help us get to the bottom of this is Erastus, and I'm happy he's on the call. But information that we all know is the fact that there's not much clarity exactly what the minister means by we have reclaimed. There are areas that were people there. I would say we'll wait till much later before we start talking about we have reclaimed forest reserves here and there. I mean, when we are saying reclaim, we should make sure there's nobody having access to the forest apart from the Forestry Commission staff. If that is not the case, then we should even be talking about it. I know places like Jimira Forest Reserve, some even in Accra Forest Reserve, for example, and some other forest reserves, it's not really 100%. We can't make a claim that we've really gotten all those people who are working there out of the air. So I think we should be circumspect a bit and wait till much later before we're able to give ourselves an indication as to we'll be able to reclaim this, we've been able to do that. Let's wait a while. Let's wait.
All right. Let me move now.
I'm looking forward to what Erastus also has to say on this, yes.
All right. Let me move now to Mutare Momoni Mokhtar. He's a security analyst. And the Interior Minister wants all the police officers in that region transferred. Is this a smart move?
Well, thank you, and good morning to you, and good morning to your viewers and followers, as well as my colleagues on the panel. If you have been following the fight against galamsey in the last, say, 10 years, 15 years, you realize that what the minister has asked, the IGP to do is something that we should have been doing a long time ago. If you notice, the reality of the role of security officials in terms of the leadership at the regional, district, and even divisional, offices. It tells you clearly the reality of some sense of sort of complicity among security officials that allows some of this to go on. When officials are stationed in these sites long enough, it creates the tendency for them to give passage and to provide, the continuous, opportunity for these things to continue to happen. And so for the minister to ask the IGP to reassign the commanders at the regional and district levels, it's a welcome call. Of course, people are asking questions. Would that be a solution to the fight against galamsey? Of course not, This is not what not what would bring about, success in dealing with it. But clearly, it is something that would, bring about a different approach to dealing with it, a fresh approach to dealing with it. It would slow the pace in terms of the distraction and involvement of individuals in the illegal activities. The more you bring in fresh and new faces to the fight, the more you re-energize the commitment to the fight.
Right.
And I think that the minister should extend or expand that call to include the Forestry Commission and other security agencies involved in this. And be very, very deliberate and intentional about this as part of the measures in dealing with Galamsey. Intentional in the sense that there had to be some kind of orientation organized for all the officials affected, or all those officials who will be reassigned in these areas, give them standard operating procedures and give them, performance, indicators to ensure that there is a new focus, a kind of new spirit that will be injected into the fight against Galamsey. So, otherwise, what we're dealing with, it is a huge, huge complex challenge.
So, in your opinion, what kind of intelligence-led policing or security activity is needed to effectively combat illegal mining?
It's an open book. This is something, there's nothing hidden in terms of what the challenges are. And we have recited what the challenges are over the years in terms of the lack of commitment by officials, the complicity of political actors, including party chairmen, party executives, including security officials, and even to a larger extent, the role of the judiciary and in its inability to ensure punitive measures, punitive enough to deter people from getting involved in it. The intelligence leading to this, obviously, it is the role of all these security actors in terms of how, they grant passage or allow this to happen. Okay. And the minister clearly knows that. In the last 3 months, he definitely has been briefed on all the goings on in these areas. And so what he has come out to do is to respond to the information or data available to him in relation to the role of the security actors. And I think this is a welcome call and we must support it. It must be a very deliberate part of the efforts going forward.
Right. Let me go to Erastus now. You have, covered this devastation firsthand, listening to the lands minister and also the IGP. What do you make of these measures?
Well, I'm very elated that the Interior Minister has really taken this initiative. It is something that some of us have been talking about for a very long time. We have evidence on the ground that many of the police officers in these Galamsey areas are highly compromised. Some of them engage in the act itself, some extort money from illegal miners, and some of them have been in that position for a very long time. They are directly obstructing the illegal mining fight themselves. And I can, if there was time, I can give you a lot of examples. And so it is welcoming news that the Interior Minister has taken this bold step. And he has not just said that, he said that they are going to keep changing them until something happens within those communities. And I think it's a laudable idea.
Well, how do you respond to critics who say that we've not really gotten these powerful enablers of illegal mining to justice?
Well, we are yet to get there. In fact, the names behind these illegal mining activities is known to many of the security agencies. I think the first step is to keep changing these commanders so that gradually we'll get to them. But I think that we need commitment on the field to be able to do this. To briefly comment on the lands minister's claim, I wish, and I have told him personally before, I wish he wouldn't go that tangent to start laying claim to percentages as to which areas they clawed back and all that. It is not a healthy way of doing that, knowing very well that many of the forest reserves are still under siege. And they have not been clawed back, as he claims. In the Tano Anua Forest Reserve that he claims is part of the list, yesterday, 12 noon, at Nkrumah Pechi, close to Bibiani, 3 excavators were spotted by farmers with gun-wielding Galamsey people entering the Jimira Forest Reserve through that end. They are still there as we speak. So when you say you have cleared that part of the forest away from illegal miners, that is not true. You go to Tamania, Wasadunkwa section, there are still armed illegal miners mining there as we speak, because yesterday I had confirmation from there. And so we cannot keep going that tangent and laying victory to areas that we have not done. We should rather focus and concentrate on the fight and get the will and vigor to continue to fight until we are able to clear the forest and even think of reclamation of the lands that has been destroyed.
Well, this question is to all three of you. I just want to know, how should the equipment used by these illegal miners be dealt with? Really, it's a debate whether to destroy them, keep them. What really should be done? Briefly.
Well, if I should take the first bite, recently I have said that due to the cost involved in carting excavators from the forest, due to the compromised nature of those who are supposed to handle that. In fact, it gives an avenue for the illegal miners to take their equipment back and pay bribes at the local level. And that is evidenced in the recent seizures that we have seen, that people are able to go in. Sometimes the excavators get missing. Sometimes the police will tell you that we cannot find them. When we went back, they've taken hold of the excavators. And in areas like Bekwai, where consistently the managers bent excavators, now there are no illegal miners in those forests. And so to me, if they are found in areas like forest reserves, red zones, they should be bent, they should be immobilized. If it involves legislation, let's get the proper legislation in place so that it will serve as the best deterrent. If they ban your 12 billion Ghana cedi excavator 3 times, you won't take it there again.
What about you, Mutaro?
Well, Erasmus has a very interesting, perspective on this in terms of what it means for the continuous destruction of the environment if they're allowed to stay. Of course, I have always been against the burning of these excavators. This is huge, capital-intensive equipment that proceeds from which sale could be used for other interventions. And I thought that burning of the equipment, was a wrong thing to do. They could have sold this equipment, pulled funding or source funds from this sale into a kind of pool that is re-injected back into the communities around job creation and opportunities for young people who are looking or desiring to get involved in economic activities. And I thought that should be more meaningful and more, useful to the state rather than banning them. But I think that in terms of policy directive, we would need to comprehensively assess it. And I see the angle Erasmus is coming from, because the fact that you ban this equipment, this is huge amounts of money. If your equipment is banned 2 or 3 times, it would immobilize you and prevent you from engaging in that trade. But at the same time, this is huge, resources lost, not only to the community or to the people directly, but to the state. And so you need to be solving the problem when you're addressing another problem. So we need to be able to find a way around it through a deliberate policy engagement.
Right. Is Daryl Bosso still with us? Well, I understand he's left us, but I'm very grateful for your time, gentlemen, on our desk. Thank you very much. Well,
thank you too.
Improper market construction, safety negligence, inadequate fire service equipment, and rural to urban migration were identified as key causes of market fires in Ghana at the Joy News National Dialogue on Fires. The event, titled From Ashes to Action, Breaking the Fire Cycle in Ghana, featured experts and traders with Deputy Interior Minister Ebenezer Okletete-Labi suggesting solutions like market restructuring, retooling the fire service, and promoting attitudinal change. Carlos Coloni reports.
The Joy News National Dialogue, dubbed From Ashes to Action, Breaking the Fire Cycle in Ghana, gathered top experts including traders, insurance professionals and government officials. A UK-based health and safety professional, Edward Deborah, pointed to inadequate emergency systems as the root cause of the nation's fire crisis, questioning the professional qualifications of some firefighters.
You would be surprised that some fire servicemen do not even know what it is they are fighting. That leads me to politics. We fix the square pegs in round holes. So when there's even fire, the people who are supposed to fight the fire don't have the requisite knowledge to be able to do it.
The Greater Accra Fire Commander, ACFO2, Rashid Kwame Nisawo, disagrees, insisting the real problem is improper market construction and limited access during emergencies.
The firemen don't have requisite knowledge to deal with fires. I think that is not true. To say that we don't have the requisite knowledge to deal with the Ghana fires in Ghana is not true. He said he's a fireman. I don't know which course he was, but the truth is that the men are trained. Some of us, I can mention main names who have certificates in Institute of Fire Engineers and have fire engineers in the Ghana National Fire Service. That is a fact. So please, if I know it's not everybody who is a fire engineer in the Ghana National Fire Service, but at least the training, we have gotten the training, and I want to put that on record. Resetting Ghana, I think I will humbly suggest that all markets should be properly constructed.
A victim of the Katamanto fire disaster, Susanna Asabia blamed the rebuilding of the market by themselves on the fear that the place could be sold out to other developers.
We can't trust the elders of the market.
You can't trust them?
Yes. If you are a leader and you cannot be trusted, how can the people you are leading listen to you when you talk?
Okay. But why can't you trust them?
That is, I'm coming to it.
Okay.
That is what I have seen. Because if you are a leader and we've got a disaster like this one, and people who love our country, elders who think about the traders, women and children and men have come to donate some huge amount for you people to help the traders. And you cannot give out the monies that were given to you. Also, rumors were going out that they wanted to sell the market. So everybody was in a hurry to put up his or her structure before the place will be sold out.
Meanwhile, another trader, Nana Yao Osei-Dodu, blamed market congestion on rural to urban migration driven by high unemployment, insisting that no trader is ready to cede any space for reconstruction.
I would say one major cause has to do with this old rural-urban drifts. I hope you're getting me. And in one way or the other, connected to unemployment.
The managing director of Bedrock Insurance insists that rebuilding Katamanto and other markets should have been coordinated and well structured. But for Edward Deborah, a lasting solution requires attitudinal change.
Our challenge has always been enforceability, because you will find somebody who will be willing to bend to make sure that somebody gets things done without going through the right processes.
The Deputy Interior Minister, Emmanuel Oklete Telabi, however, proposes the following solutions to the challenge.
How are the markets relating to the police, the fire service, and all those who matter, insofar as our safety is concerned? How are they relating to each other? Now, the other thing too is that we are talking about poor waste management. Now, the marketplace is our office. We want to do everything there, including even sleeping. In the market, people cook. How are we going to go about this? Can't we have, even that attitude must change, because if we say, okay, open the market at 6 and close at 6 a.m. and close at 6 p.m., in between, people can, cook. And in the process, you know, if the market is going to be closed at 6, people, I mean, Ghanaians, you know how our attitude towards time. You wait. When it is 6:30, that is when somebody would want to cook.
Ghanaians are, however, hopeful that the proposed solutions from the national dialogue, including market rebuilding, retooling the Ghana National Fire Service, and training personnel for market safety, will help curb the high rate of market fires. Carlos Caloni, Joy News.
Residents of Snit Flats at Tema Community 3 are asking non-residents filling gullies serving as waterway and littering the area with containers to stop or face their wrath. Now, the residents say that the situation has become dire and could lead to flooding and other security concerns, with 4 of their cars stolen in the last few months. Here's more from correspondent Kwame Ofosu.
Purpose of the gully at Tema Community 3 Snit Flat was to serve as waterway in the event of rain and has done this over the years. However, non-residents, with the help of some individuals in the area, are encroaching by filling the gully with concrete, laterites and other materials and littering the area with containers, aside cutting down trees which serve as windbreaks and ornamental purposes. Fed up with this unscrupulous behavior, executives of the Residents Association are on the heels of Tema West Municipal Assembly to help address this challenge. The area has recorded about 4 car theft incidents in the last few months, raising security concerns. Paul Esiam is the Side B chair of Tema Community 3 Snit Flats Residents Association.
So when it rains, the water passes through to the main line, but now that they have filled, we are thinking that it will be a challenge. When it rains heavily, the whole place will get flooded. That is why we are pushing that place. Even if they are filling it, I think they should communicate it to the community for us to know what is it. But they have filled it, and then people are putting containers there to sell. And we think that it poses danger to the road users and also the community.
Unit Committee member of Jatabu Electoral Area and Interim Working Committee member of Side B, James Edem Tamaklo, is worried as the situation could cause flooding.
When it rains heavily for 2 to 3 days, water can have its part and then not be a problem for us in the community. But as it stands, as you can see, the waterways are being filled in order to get a level land and then containers placed on it by the road. Apart from posing a hazard for vehicular movement, it can cause any flood at any time when it rains. Also, I've observed that with the rate at which these places are being filled, water can dash through into the streets and then cause our roads that millions of Ghana cedis have been used to construct and repair to begin to damage, and it will come back to government to spend monies to fix these roads.
NewsDesk here on the Joy News channel. I am Amisi Nyamita Thompson. We'll take a break. We'll return with business.
It's time for business here on NewsDesk. My name is Winston Taki, and now to our first business story. About 70% of businesses in Ghana accrue less than 10,000 cedis annually. That's according to the 2024 Integrated Business Establishment Survey released by the Ghana Statistical Service. The report also showed that 37.2% of establishments in Ghana use digital financial services. There is more in this report.
This from the formal sector and from the informal sector perspective. Chairperson, here we are worried about 2 things. We are concerned about 2 things. One is having a lot more firms in the informal sector, and 2 is having a lot more firms that are very new, less than 10 years. The first part of the concern is that we still have about 71% of firms that are 50 years and older and are still in the informal sector. One was expecting that once firms stay longer, the likelihood of finding them, the likelihood of making sure that they keep records for their own growth will be pretty much easier than newer firms. But we still have firms which are 50 years and older specifically 71% of them which are still in the informal sector. And this definitely calls for reflections on how we intervene to support our businesses.
That's a very interesting development there. Now moving on, the Ghana Bauxite Company Limited, GBC, is expanding its surface mining operations to mitigate the impact of its operations on the environment. The present drill and blast method is expected to ease to allow the surface mining, which has less negative effect on the environment. The Ofori Poko Company Limited, after securing 8% shares in GBC, has invested $122 million into the company to improve efficiency and ensure environmental protection. Nana Yao Jima was at the commissioning of the Community Relations Office of the bauxite mine and has filed this report.
The drill and blast operations, which is largely used in the mining of bauxite, produces air and noise pollution which negatively impact the environment. Until the new administration took over the Ghana Bauxite Company, operations largely depended on drill and blast methods, with attendant risk. The new investments are shifting to the surface mining of bauxite as a more environmentally friendly operation. General Manager for Ghana Bauxite Company, Alexander Jedu, indicates the company is focused on minimizing the negative impacts of mining activities on the environment.
GBC's mine currently utilizes both surface mining and drilling and blasting methods. Our objective is to gradually reduce our reliance on drill and blast operations while expanding surface mining activities. This transition aims to enhance operational efficiency, reduce environmental impacts, enhance resource recovery, and reinforce our commitment to sustainability.
The transition of operations to surface mining has increased production volumes to 1.8 million tons in 2024 from 1.2 million tons per annum. A chunk of investments made in the company has focused on retooling.
And we project a further increase to 6 million metric tons by the end of 2025 through infrastructure improvements and operational efficiencies to meet our production target of 6 million tons per year. Ghana Bauxite has made substantial investments totaling about 122.8 million USD.
That's all for business here on NewsDesk. My name is Winston Taki. Over to Mamisi for the rest of the bulletin. Mamisi.
Yes, Winston. But I'm very surprised that about 70% of businesses make just 10,000 cedis annually.
That's a very
there's something
phenomenon.
fishy going on there.
Absolutely.
Are they underreporting their profits?
We'll get deeper into that later on.
Well, that's how we wrap up for NewsDesk this morning. I am Amisi Nyamiche Thompson. There's more news on myjoyonline.com. Thanks for your company.